Well, family, welcome back. This is episode 15, and here we're going to focus on what PSAP managers can do to lead in strategic encouragement like we did in the last episode, but this is part 2. Use your software in hard times for a great cause. So what am I talking about here? Innovation isn't necessarily that you come up with a bunch of new things and implement them. Sometimes it's that you just apply something you already have in a powerful new way. Well, I want to suggest that you guys used software for tracking in your agencies that can also be used, and it actually was intended to be used also to recognize and affirm good stuff that's going on in the comm center. So let's just back up on this for a minute, though, because I don't want this to sound like a cookie cutter solution. Dispatchers despise phony praise. They gag on it. They don't want it. But when it's legitimate and it's sincere encouragement, it can do wonders. Just ask any of our dispatchers, right, about how it has felt when somebody they really respected acknowledged the work they did, especially when they felt like it wasn't their best because the outcomes weren't very good. In the midst of all the COVID-19 stress right now, many of us, most of us are dealing with some kind of sense of loss of control, helplessness, maybe feeling inadequate and not up to the challenge. And yet we still keep pushing. We still keep gutting it out. I'll be honest with you, even in making this little series, there's some of them I've done over and over because it wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. And I had to realize that it was time for me to step away and literally do my own heart focused breathing, give myself a little pep talk, send up a prayer, and decide it had to be good enough. Because you know what the enemy have done is perfection. Well, I want to just suggest that this is not a perfect idea either, and you won't be perfect in offering it. But if you will be strategic in your use of affirmation recognition, using software that's available to you as a leader, it can make a powerful difference. So, for example, you guys have Guardian Tracking, many of you, and I'm not being paid by Guardian Tracking to say this, but there is a capacity, a capability with Guardian Tracking to enter in those things that people are doing so they can see that you saw, that you noticed it. And that right now could be super powerful. Let me just back up and make you a little bit more convinced, perhaps, how it might be worth 5 minutes to maybe 10 minutes of your day at the beginning of the day or before you go home as a leader to enter into Guardian Tracking or another software capability that would allow you to do that. There is an expert in the study of relationships. His name is John Gottman. He and his wife, Julie, have studied relationships more than most humans on the planet could even imagine studying for over 30 years. They have a 6-to-1 rule. And that 6-to-1 rule is this. People, in order to sustain motivation in relationships, whether it's at work or it's at home, need 6 times more positive input from you as a significant other than criticism. Okay, it's like, now you might be feeling like me, wow, how many of us succeed at the 6-to-1 rule, right? Where we're giving 6 times or receiving 6 times more affirmation than criticism. I get it. It seems unrealistic, but the science behind it is, look, it's hard to do until we get good at it. How do we get good at anything? By strategically, intentionally working towards it. Because the fact is, there's an erosion when the support doesn't meet the demand. Strategic encouragement is fuel. It's resource. We have to be sure that the resource is as high as the man we're placing our 911 professionals under. Okay, so I'm suggesting this. Support morale and support professionalism by daily logging into something like Guardian Tracking. Okay, what does it take? 5 minutes. What are you doing? Okay, what individual efforts am I aware of that have been excellent in this day or in the last couple of days that I might have forgotten about? Now I remember. I'm going to enter in. I'm going to make that an affirmation that's real right now. Seeing is believing sometimes. What about recognizing and celebrating employee accomplishments or agency accomplishments? It might be general to everybody, just an encouragement. What about encouraging active mutual support? In other words, cheering on people and encouraging them to work together as a team, not as a criticism, maybe citing ways you saw your team working well together. Okay, small idea with possibly a big result. So I hope you will follow up. And now join me for episode 16, episode 16, kindling our spiritual resilience in the worst of times. Don't worry, I'm not going ballistic on religion. That's not the point. But you need to find out by tuning in. Okay, thanks, guys.